You're very welcome to the Irish Political Roundup with me, Paul Brophy. I'm flying solo this evening. Unfortunately, my colleague, but we're going to plough on ahead and we're going to keep the momentum going that Roisin has built up uh, with this channel over the last number of years. So today we're talking about a subject that is very, very important for life and for everything else. It's water. Um, 71% of the earth is covered in water, and only 1% of it is drinkable. So means that is a lot of work to get to that stage where water can be drinkable. But water not only is essential for life, it's an essential for infrastructure, particularly housing, and it's also a big issue for our farmers as well. So to talk about water and the entity that is Irish Water, the good and the bad. Um, we have two. We're delighted to be joined by Cork North Central TD, Deputy Ken O'Flynn, who is a TD for the Independent Ireland Party, and prior to getting elected to the Dáil in 2024, Ken was a member of Cork City Council for over over 15, 16 years, Ken, if
Too
I'm,
long,
if I'm
too
correct.
too long since 2008. Since 2008,
Since
a lifetime.
2008. And also joining us is um, someone that our viewers will be very familiar with is former Fine Gael councillor here in Kilkenny, Patrick O'Neill. Patrick was a Fine Gael councillor from 2014 to 2024, and Pat was also a general election candidate for Fine Gael in the 2020 general election. Gentlemen, you're both very welcome to the Irish Political Roundup.
Thank you very much.
Good to be here, Paul.
Um,
Thanks again.
Absolutely. Ken, you were a county councillor from 2008. What was water infrastructure um, and all that goes with it like dealing with it before Irish Water came along? Did you find it was a much better service when it was being run by the local authority?
Well, when I served in Cork City Council, like all other city councils or county councils that are out there, the reality is that they're customer driven. It's not a business as such. It's about
Yeah,
providing a service. I think the fundamental difference there is that, I could pick up my phone, and I'm sure everyone else in the other with their local authorities can pick up their phone, ring the local area engineer, ring the engineer that you had on your list of call outs that had a company phone for Cork City Council or Cork County Council, and say, look, we have a problem here up in Mallow, or we have a problem down in Cork City, or we have a problem over in Ballincollig. And it was very easy to get access to people, and you had people answering their phones. You had people with local knowledge. Now
mm,
we're given, as elected representatives, we're given email addresses, and we're put
yeah.
onto some call center. I spoke to a very nice lady in a call center the other day. I think she was in Egypt. Um,
Wow.
when I spoke to her, but because it was outsourced at the weekend, I know there was an Irish company using the customer services at one stage. But again, you're this is one of the big problems here. The local area knowledge is gone. The communication between the
Mm,
customer services center and the local authority sometimes gets mixed as well. They're depending on air codes. Sometimes that's not all always correct.
mm,
You have a situation where we'll say Cork City Council is getting an email about something that's after happening, but has actually gone into the email of a Cork County Council service provider.
mm,
So, local knowledge is key for all these things. But I
yeah.
suppose for me, Irish Water, the big changes there is getting anything done. We had engineers that were available to us to talk to. They were there. We might not always agree with what they're saying, but at least we had somebody that we knew on the ground. Now you have people
Yeah.
being seconded into Irish Water that don't really want to be in Irish Water. That's another big conundrum there, and question marks over pensions
Yeah.
and workers' rights, etc. as well. But you have people in Irish Water that don't want to be there, and you have people with very lack of local knowledge, and
Mm,
local knowledge is key. The other thing that I'm finding, with since the invention of Irish Water, is that we're now paying additional connection charges to Irish Water when you build a brand new house. That can be anywhere
okay.
between 5 to 7,000 euros. So that's being handed over to the so a developer comes along, he builds the house, he
Mm,
pays the connection charge, and of course that's being passed on to you in the price of your house.
mm,
Um, where on average, you were paying probably about 5,000 in development charges per unit as a developer.
Mm.
You're now paying about 10 to 12,000, depending on the area you're
Okay.
in.
And
So
that all has a
there,
knock-on
these
effect
are
on
all the knock-on
delivery of
effects
housing.
of that. Irish Water isn't properly financed. That's the big challenge that Irish Water has. Here in Cork City or in Cork County, where I represent, there's a number of challenges. You look at places like Blarney, for instance. You could probably only build about 200 houses in Blarney now because there's no water treatment plant. You can't build any houses in Carrignavar because there's no water treatment plant there, and there doesn't look like there's going to be one anytime soon. You know, back in the day, county councils and city councils could do deals with developers and say, look, you take charge of building a water development, both for sewage and for freshwater facilities in the area. You take charge of that and a water treatment plant, and you build it. You'll then go off and you'll build your 300 or 400 or 500 houses in the area, you know, the developments that are in the area, and then the county council will take charge of it. That's not happening anymore. That can't happen anymore in the new system. So you're dependent on an external body that isn't really responsible to anybody for delivering of houses. Irish Water, you know, you ask a question in Leinster House, and I've put down a number of PQs, and you get a reply back saying it's a limited company. There's a chairman of the board, and it's not for the minister to answer for Irish Water. Like, that's an appalling question, or reply to any question, when considering it's a semi-state body, it's owned by the public, you know. But this passing the ball and passing the buck seems to be a regular occurrence with Irish Water. Look, I'm not blaming Irish Water. They're underfunded, full stop. They're underfunded, and that has to be addressed. But it's going to have a devastating effect on building going forward in both private and council estates, because we have the land zoned, but we don't have the water treatment plants.